After going head-to-head with Piers Morgan on Good Morning Britain, Calvin Robinson, who was a school governor, former assistant principal, and now the campaign champion at Defund the BBC, suffered some of the most horrific abuse. And as he writes in today's Daily Telegraph, we always hear about how we need more black voices on television. So why is it that every time I appear on screen, I'm attacked for having the wrong opinions? Calvin joins me now. Calvin, this was so shocking to see what happened to you after this appearance on ITV. I literally saw other BAME individuals criticising your appearance, making racist comments about your hair. And I just thought, what the hell is going on? What is happening here?
I know, Danny, it's just ridiculous. I don't think I said anything controversial. But even if I did, they're not challenging what I said. There's no debate there. They're not saying you were wrong because of this. I mean, I'm open to that. I might have been wrong. I'd love to hear why they think I was. But they're attacking me personally, my immutable characteristics, the color of my skin, like you say, my hair. And it always comes down to, I'm not black enough for them. And what does that mean? What does blackness mean if I'm not quite meeting that criteria? It's almost as if, anyone with darker than white skin has to subscribe to one single approved narrative. And that's not equality in my eyes. And that's certainly not diversity. We need to get to a point where people can be free to have different thoughts and opinions, and it's not going to get them cancelled and get them verbally attacked.
Well, exactly, because the message from all of these people who were calling you a race traitor and saying there is something wrong with you and demanding you are arrested and even calling you a waterboy to fascism actually miss the point, which is that if we want to have a society that doesn't feature racism, there has to be an acceptance that people of any race can support any particular political party or represent any part of the political spectrum that they want. And I feel like, Calvin, you would be a hero to these people if you were on the left. But because you tend to be on the right, you're attacked.
Well, this is it. And I'm not saying that racism doesn't exist. I've experienced it all throughout my life. Racism absolutely does exist in this country.
And this is racism towards you now.
Exactly.
Because
but
of your right-wing view.
Country.
No.
I have had so many opportunities to become successful and make something of my life due to working hard. And you can't do that if the system is against you. You can't do that if you're being held back. And I wasn't held back. And I don't think it's right to tell young people, actually, you're not going to make anything of your life because you're brown. That right there is racist. And like you say, attacking me for the color of my skin for not subscribing to their approved narrative is racist. We need to stamp out racism in all aspects, all walks of life. And that includes black on black racism, which is what I've had a lot of this week. And it's gotten to the point that it's gone off Twitter now. I've had phone calls where I've picked up the phone over the last couple of days and no one's spoken. I've had text messages saying BLM and that's it. It's like all for just saying that I disagreed with a dance act on Britain's Got Talent.
But you raise a wider point, which seems to be these days, unless you are prepared to say, and I respect you that you're not prepared to say this, but unless you're prepared to say, yes, the country is systemically racist, you will not be accepted.
Look, my grandfather came over here during Windrush, right? And he had a tough time. He really did. My father had less of a tough time. Things got a bit better by then. As I grew up, I had an even better time. Like we've had a lot of progress in this country, a lot more than I would say in the United States. I think we've made a lot of progress. It's a success that we need to celebrate. We're not quite there yet. There are still some things we need to work on. And that's okay. We need to address those issues. But while we're saying everyone is racist and everything is racist, we can never get to the nuanced debate and actually solve the real problems and address the real racism that is there. And that's why I think, Black Lives Matter and critical race theory are wrong, because they're looking at the world through a lens of racism. And white people are naturally racist, either overtly or unconsciously. And that's wrong. And that we can't work with that. And they know that.
But what shocked me so much, Calvin, is that it feels like you're not allowed to discuss the Black Lives Matter organization on the mainstream media. And you were essentially attacking the organization. And there's a lot to attack about the actual organization rather than the term, because the organization is essentially Marxist. It wants to dismantle capitalism. It wants to defund the police. I mean, these are highly controversial concepts, which at the very least deserve to be debated.
Exactly that. And, all I said is Black Lives Matter are divisive and stoke racism. So to prove me wrong, what did they do? They got divisive and they provoked me with racist assaults. So, they're proving the evidence right there. I think, they always come back and say, well, it is a racist country. And I'm like, well, it's not. But they'll say it is because I didn't see people like me when I was looking on the curriculum in school, or I don't see people like me in government. And I'm like, that doesn't mean that this is a racist country. If it was racist, it would be stopping you from doing it. In this country, if you don't see someone like you, you have the opportunity to be that person for everyone else. If you don't see someone in parliament that looks like you, don't make a stand.
But I think that's what's so great about what you're doing, Calvin, because you are now proving that it is possible to be a big name on the right and be black as well. And actually, that's what we need. And that's why these people should be celebrating you. And it's the great irony in the whole thing. But thank you for staying strong, and thank you for coming and sharing your story of what has been a very dramatic week. But it will be a good chapter for your book. Calvin Robinson, campaign champion at Defund the BBC and a columnist for the Daily Telegraph.